All right, what's up, guys? This is episode 48 of the Master of One podcast, Life After Openings. And I think it's a very apt title name for the episode today. We're going to see this in chess, in students, and also where we're going to start off EACC9. So, for people who don't really focus on openings much, basically in chess, opening is like the first 10 to 15 moves where everything's kind of forced. You know what's going to happen, and if you put in time, if you do it the right way, you're going to have a good position. You're going to have an advantage. But then at some point, you got to realize, like, you have to be good at chess. You have to be good at actually making decisions. And that's actually how I'm going to segue into the first topic, EACC9 preparation. I feel like opening-wise, we made it. Like, as far as the list goes, as far as guaranteeing having X amount of people, I would say like 60 plus people in a tournament, I think we've done that. And now the thing that we need to work on is the details, like actually being good at chess, actually being a good chess player, or in terms of this, like actually being a good organizer, actually taking things to the next level, actually growing. Because basically with the list, we had our first major deadline this past Friday, the 20th of March, and no, my math is terrible. It's the 22nd of March. I'm sorry. That was our first deadline, and we have 55 people signed up for the tournament so far. We were hoping for, I mean, this is honestly going to sound really greedy, but we're hoping for about 60 people after the first deadline. Now, if we think about the past, like, we couldn't break 40 participants to save our life, and now we have 55 before, basically 3 weeks out. The way we did, basically the strat this time, if you guys haven't heard from the other podcast, is the cheapest price, $40, was only available the weekend of the tournament. So the tournament was on Saturday up until the next Sunday. We had our first $40 deadline. That way we can really lock in people for the next tournament. And I think we basically about a week away from the first deadline, we had maybe mid 40, low 40s, and we essentially got to 50 off of 55 people off of the first deadline, which is good. Our goal is to try to get like 80 for this tournament. If we can get 80, I would definitely consider that a success and moving in the right direction. But basically, what I'm trying to say with all this is the deadlines, the pricing, everything to build a list are kind of our opening, and our opening is good. Our opening gets us pretty far, and that is one great thing that you have to give the opening in chess or in whatever. Like, when you're starting off in a good position, like, it's definitely better than starting off in a worse position. And by having guaranteed 40 to 50 people there, that's very good. Now, what we need to work on, and what I need to work on in chess, and always I find it very ironic that these things go hand in hand, or very, I'm not going to say unique, but interesting that these things go hand in hand, is now that my openings are good in chess, and I'll get more into this a little bit later, now it's really about getting openings good, getting the middle game and the end game good. So how do we improve people signing up for 60, 70, and then the last? So generally the way we see it with people signing up for tournaments is you have the big rush for the first deadline. The middle two, you probably get somewhere between 5 to 10 people. And then the last deadline, you'll probably get around 10 to 15 people. So the middle two are the ones that, like, you see the least amount of movement. And then by the end, you'll see a little bit more movement, I would say. So how do we boost this? The first thing that I really think could help a lot is chess affiliates. So basically, in Georgia, there are a couple different chess groups, chess organizations that run events, that do things. And I think having very strong ties to these groups will be very beneficial in terms of marketing and having more people play. The list we have now and the USCF Blasts are great. They very wide-reaching base in numbers. But I think having this personal touch of actually knowing different groups and having people basically word of mouth your event is a huge way to increase participation and have more people play. So examples of this are like Georgia Tech Chess is one big one. The Friday night people are a big one. I mean, Scholastics, I've been saying for a long time, I really want to make a thing. Probably that's going to take a little bit of time. But I think is another big thing that we want to move on over the summer. The fact that tournaments are doing well, we would definitely want to grow to Scholastics, because that is actually how you grow the base. When you have the new generation, new players playing, they play more, they get in more tournaments, and now you basically have this boost of participation in the younger section, as in under 1400. So like something interesting that we saw is in the beginning, under 1400 was the biggest section, and then the last two tournaments, under 1800 has become the biggest section. And the reason why under 1800 has become so big is because a lot of people from under 1400 gained a bunch of rating or gained enough rating to move up into the next section. And then what we kind of saw was under 1400 used to be the biggest section, but because of all these quote-unquote graduates from under 1400, under 1400 has decreased a little bit. Now, I actually have I have this group class that I teach on Mondays, and all four of them plus a dad is playing on Saturday. So that's already a 5-person boost in the under section. And I definitely do see some new names in this section. So this section is also starting to grow at least a little bit. But of course, we always have to and want to do more if we want to be successful. But that's the whole idea of Scholastics and bringing in new people, because then they play the under section, they start gaining rating, and basically it feeds into itself. Now, I think something that goes very hand in hand with Scholastics, or this idea of how do we increase the base, weekly chess nights. So weekly chess nights or weekly tournaments. So this is another big thing that we're trying to implement pretty much post this tournament. Another interesting idea is whatever ideas that we have, generally we're going to launch them right after a tournament. So essentially right after or during a tournament or right after a tournament is when people are excited. They just played a tournament, they're high on chess in a sense, and they want to do more. And also we just have this, and I'll say this again and again, like in-person marketing or in-person pitching or selling or anything is way better than emailing or sending out email blasts. Like, of course, awareness is important, but if you really want to convert customers or clients into doing things, I really do believe there needs to be the way to seal the deal is the in-person element, and that's what's really going to get people to commit. Or people who already want to do something, it doesn't matter as much, but the people who are on the fence, in person is like a billion times more important. That's really where the money is to be made, I believe. So that's why I believe that weekly tournaments and weekly chess nights, once again, if it doesn't feed into the amount of people playing, it'll raise awareness. And just by running tournaments, it will increase traction and more people just knowing about these about the big tournaments. So now that we have a base, now that we have a good 60 to 80 people that are trying to play, this would be the time to try to capitalize and bring back the weekly chess nights. And I think honestly both are important, casual and actual tournament. Now, one counterpoint is there are already a lot of casual chess nights. And I don't think many of these people are really stepping into the the future tournament role. So we would need to find some kind of way to do a chess casual night, but also have it, at least in some sense, try to feed back into the idea of we want people to eventually play tournaments. So that's going to be a challenge that we have to do. But I think the first step is moving into that space. Now, there is kind of a monopoly on that space right now, so that also makes it very interesting. Like, once again, always moving parts, always a lot of things that we need to consider. But I think that would be at least two really, really, really important ideas of improving the middle game, improving the end game, to put things in chess terms. Openings are good. We have good positions almost guaranteed. Now we gotta realize or figure out, how do we take this position to the next level? How do we convert to a win? And I do believe that's something that Charlotte did really, really well. They didn't really get stuck at one place, and of course there was a lot of gradual movement at some point, but I think they did a masterful job of transitioning into that, not just a good opening, but also a good middle game and beyond. So these are kind of the plans for EACC 9. Also for EACC 10, we have some big plans. Now we do have, so one thing about planning so early is it's 2 months away, but that's actually not that much time, because we have this event and the next couple weeks are generally the ramp up, whereas the last couple weeks were kind of we kind of just chill. So we really just need a venue right now. We kind of have an idea of format, we have an idea of some details, but venue is the next really big thing. The big thing that we need to figure out to be ready for the next big transition or the next big jump. But for May, we are planning a 2-day event. Really, there's very little competition, I would say, in May, apart from Chicago Open, which I don't even know if a lot of people go to anyway, from Georgia. But by preparing for Chicago Open and by having a big tournament in May, I think this could be very successful. Date-wise, we're a little bit locked in. But yeah, the big constraint is venue. Can we find a big enough venue to hopefully be a future partner? Because if we can lock this venue down and the event goes good, we only plan on doing more and more and more. So that's the big thing for ECC 10. It's going to be a 2-day event. Prizes are going to be probably double. Really, hopefully we can get an out-of-state contingency too. That would also be very important for success. So yeah, those I would say the big 3 things that we really want to try to accomplish in the next month are a weekly chess night, a weekly casual chess night, weekly tournaments, and getting ready for our not our first 2-day, but ideally our first successful 2-day, since things have really started to pop off in Scholastics. So busy summer, but summer is kind of peak season for chess, I'd say. So only that can be expected. And I don't think I'm going to travel to Europe this summer. If anything, I might go to South America for a bit. But Europe is probably out for this year, unless something crazy happens. All right, so that's a good amount on just the EACC 9 prep and future plans and how we improve the middle game and end game of this business, of this organization. And also like to shout out that I do think our openings are fire right now, and I think this is a good way to transition into my own chess training. Openings are very good right now. Like, openings are 100% not the problem. Now, I think one thing that's important that you always want to realize too is just because openings are good doesn't mean you stop studying. Like openings are good, but there's always more to learn, and that is all for sure. Like, me and my sensei are going to continue to learn openings and to build on it, but basically that is not a focal point anymore. Like, it would be more beneficial to spend more time on middle game and end game than to try to squeak out the the very small gains that we can get from opening. So just like the business, like we're not gonna 100% not do any more deadlines or anything like that. But for the most part, the work is done, and it's time to focus somewhere else is the idea. And same thing with chess. So to like to add some experimental data, I would say, I definitely feel my puzzles getting better. Like basically, what I do for training is I do 2 puzzle rush and 10 puzzles every day. I might take a Saturday off or maybe a whole weekend here and there, but for the most part, it is every single day. And at this point, like Puzzle Rush, maybe in the beginning, I would get high 30s, low 40s on average, and every once in a while, I'd pop off and have a 45, a 48, a 50. But now, basically, I'm getting mid 40s on demand, and this is if I'm doing something else on top. Like, can almost guarantee that I'll score somewhere in the mid 40s. And online chip puzzle rating, though, it is not. There are still fluctuations here and there where I might drop 100 points, be depressed, and then get it all back and not be depressed. But I'm pretty much holding 2,700 on Lee Chess for maybe a week now, which is definitely progress. That's also always one of the goals. I almost hit 2,800 one day too, and I always said, like, if you can get 2,800, you're Grandmaster strength. So starting to get there, and I will say, like, I definitely feel it in my games. Like, I definitely feel like I'm finding some crazy puzzles or some nice tactics, or like my reflexes are very nice. So yeah, very interesting thing about chess puzzles is, like, don't expect it to be amazing in one day, 1 week, maybe even 1 month. I would say around 1 month is when you start seeing, like, oh wow, I could do this, or I normally didn't do that. And that's, I think, a great reason why people should write down numbers and keep track of data, because then you can actually see, like, okay, is anything changing? Is this worth my time? Or am I just wasting time? Like, should I be spending time somewhere else? And I'll tie this into working out. And generally, that's probably how I'm going to close the podcast today, just like working out and how it's been going. But I think working out and doing puzzles are very similar in that sense, where for the most part, maybe in the beginning you feel a big boost, but there's a big middle where you're just slogging away and you're like, I've been doing this every day and, like, nothing's changed. Like, why am I doing this? Is this just a waste of time? And I think that's a very important thing to know. And once again, it's how you improve your middle game. You just realize, like, okay, I'm just going to keep practicing and doing what I'm supposed to do. And then one day it starts getting easier. And you don't know when this day is going to come. You don't know how it's going to feel. You can't really expect it. It just happens for a little bit. And then all of a sudden you're just like, wow, now I realize, like, something's actually happening. It takes a couple days of, you'll probably have some, like, aha moment where you're like, oh my God, I've never done this before. But I would say the more common thing, or at least what I've seen, is it happens a couple times where you feel just slightly stronger or slightly better. And then you start thinking, like, wow, like, normally I struggle with this. Now I'm actually, like, seeing some improvement. And that's what I think, like, working out and studying middle games really is. And you'll have some defining moments where you're like, I could never have done that before, and because I did all this, now I can do it. So yeah, openings are good. Puzzles, I'm feeling the growth. And it's something that me and my sensei are going to do. I already regret it now, but we're going to go through this calculation book by this guy, Ramesh, who, like, coached kind of all the Indian grandmasters, like the very strong up-and-coming wave with Vidic and Pragananda and Aragasi and Nihal Sarin. So he has a book. We're going to be studying this book, and basically we're just going to be cracking our head. That's what it is. Like, these are just, like, really hard puzzles where at the end of the day, like, you just got to sit there and calculate. And I think that is an important thing in life. Like, everyone has intuition, everyone has what they want to do, everyone has, like, safety measures to avoid explosions. But at some point, I think you just have to, like, actually sit there, do pros and cons, and make a decision. And I think that's just as useful in chess as it is in life. Like, end of the day, like, you can kind of know what to do, you can kind of know what to do, you can kind of know what you're not supposed to do, but you're gonna have to make a decision, and that's the hard part, and that's where I think we need to practice that muscle. So to improve middle game and end game, we are going to go through books and calculation. Another thing that I think is very important, and this it is an opening thing, but I actually think it falls more under the category of middle game or other, where sometimes you spend so much time learning openings and going through things that you never really have time to review everything. And that is something that with tournament season approaching, I think is very important that I need to do. Is we've gone through like a billion lines in certain opening, but clicking through and actually knowing and understanding why things are happening, I think are very different things. So to supplement all the going over, I think it is very important to have like a review day or a review method on basically like, this is what we plan to do, or like I'm actually going to, like, instead of learning new things, I need to take some time and review what I've learned. So with tournament season approaching, like, review is going to be very important. Now, basically my idea with a lot of these openings is I want to finish going over everything, start reviewing, and then basically start playing a bunch and kind of like cross-analyzing. So what I mean by like cross-analyzing is once I start playing, like checking to see like, hey, is this what I'm supposed to do? Or, hey, did we go over this? Or, hey, if we didn't go over this, let me add this. It's kind of like cross-examining information after you kind of have the information. So that's going to be a very, very big step. Basically, I think I have one more hard day of openings with my sensei of just things that we need to go over that are new, that we haven't covered yet. And I think after this one hard day, probably basically Friday, I think we put in 4 to 7 hours and kind of just go through everything. I think after that, it's going to be just cross-examination. Like, of course, we're going to try to fill in holes and figure out, okay, if they do it in this move order, what do I do here? But for the most part, like, this is kind of all the heavy lifting, and now it's about like reviewing and like I said, cross-examining. And then I think the last thing I'm going to say about my chess training that I think is very important is I really do think if you can teach someone something, you're going to learn it way faster / way more in depth. Because once again, like, if you just click through and you kind of have an idea and you try to explain to someone why you're doing something and you just have an idea, it comes off as very clumsy. It comes off as very like, wait, does this guy actually know what he's doing? Especially when it gets very detail oriented. Like, you can always like summarize pretty well, but when people actually ask you for variations or moves, that's when it's really like, did you put in the time and do you actually know what to do? Like, it's not as much philosophical as it is more empirical or like, I guess, data-based, if that makes any sense. So for me, like, some of these new openings, I will be making a lot of YouTube videos. And actually, I'll go ahead and transition to chess students because I think these two tie in pretty well together. Basically, I made every opening video any of my students below 1400 will ever need to watch. Like this, like basically, what I did was I made around 60 1 to 5 minute videos going through separate variations. And I was thinking, like, do I make one big video on the exchange French, one big video on the advanced French, or do I make 10 videos in the advanced French, but with each line? And the reason I decided to do this one was I thought, one, if people already know the variations, they can just not go over them. Or if someone wants a certain variation, but they don't want to play another variation, this way they can kind of mix and match, and it would be easier to organize. Now, if you just go to YouTube and you try to look at all the videos, you're going to be like, this guy just put out 60 videos. This is impossible. I don't know where to start. And I will make playlists for each opening or for each opening level too. So I also broke down all the openings into essentially 3 different levels, under 1,000, around 1,000, and then basically 1,400. And honestly, like the knowledge in these videos, like you could play at the 2000 level. Like it's under 1400, but the depth, like I guarantee that a lot of like 2200s don't know theory this well. So I really broke it down. And the next thing that I'm gonna have to do is, this is all the starter openings, so I'm gonna have to start the next phase of openings. And now it starts getting really weird because I don't want my opponents knowing what I play, but I need to teach my students. So the first set up to 1400 is going to be free. It's going to be on YouTube and the website. And I don't know if I said this, but basically I use the website to organize everything. If you go to wolfchess.org and you click on chess lessons, you're going to have 3 categories: white, blue, and purple belt. And pretty much the website says all the videos that you need in this skill level, all the videos you need in this skill level. And then to go above and beyond, I made review sheets for all the opening videos, and I also made tests for the openings. That way you can really know, like, did I learn this, or like am I just clicking through? And this keeps coming up, like just clicking through. It's a cardinal sin that a lot of chess players do, where before the game they'll just click through their openings and be like, okay, so I just do this and this, and now I'm better, or I'm winning. And then you go sit there in the game and you're like, wait, what if he does this, or am I supposed to do this? So when you were clicking through, and I mean, maybe this is not other players, but this is at least the problem that I have, where I'll just click through and I'll be like, all right, I'm good. And then I'll sit there and I'll be like, yo, I don't remember anything. And the difference between clicking through and understanding, I think, is very, very important. Where, like, if you click through, maybe your memory will recall kind of what you went over. But if you understand, then for sure you're going to know exactly what to do. So, yeah, a lot of opening videos. Basically, the next wave is coming. When am I going to... I'm not going to honestly be very pressed for the next wave, just because the majority of chess players are under 1400, and this is all they need. And definitely expect some videos separate from this podcast of just like me going through the website and telling people, like, hey, just do this, and you're good to go. Or, hey, you can just do this and you're good to go. So yeah, to segue into my students, openings right now are really good for all of them. They pretty much all are getting good positions at the opening. They're informed. Something that always hurts my soul a little bit is they'll get 100 on the test or 95 on the test, then they'll go play a tournament game, and they'll get the exact position from one of the videos or from the test, and then they'll get it wrong. And I'm like, no, you took the test. This is why I gave the test, and then you messed it up. But it's going to come with practice. It's going to come with time. And like I said, that's why I really, really, really strongly believe in reviewing. Like, you need to review. Otherwise, you pass the test, but then do you actually know what you're doing? So that's another important or interesting thing that I would have to think about. Like, let's say, like, you finish all the under 1400 tests, but you're still 12 or 1300. Maybe after 6 months, like, you have to take the test again, something like that, to kind of show that, hey, I still know the material, if that makes sense. Tests are good, and now I think for my students, the next big wave, the next big phase of things to do is to basically, just like how I made white belt, blue belt, and purple belt opening material for my students, I need to do that for middle game and endgame as well. Now, honestly, I think endgame is going to be very easy, because I think there are a collection of classic endgames that every chess player needs to know. There's actually a book and a YouTube video of 100 essential endgames every chess player must know. So there's going to be a lot of those questions on the test, is kind of going to be my idea. So basically, week 1, we go over a bunch of basic endgames, Lucina position, Philidor position, give out and then go over everything, a week review, and then boom, take some tests. Do you know all this? If you do, all right, good. Let's move on to some slightly more complicated endgames, and then basically just keep doing this. And I mean, if you can, first off, if you just know the openings and some lessons or coaching, you will get 1400. So probably what I would do is supplement some opening videos for 1400 plus, but really start diving into the weeds of middle game and end game, and actually how to get good at chess. So middle game is going to be the interesting thing. Like, how do you get people better at middle game? Do I give them historical examples from world champions? Do I give them theme examples like sacking an exchange, sacrificing pieces? Like, what do we actually do? So endgame, I have a very clear and concise plan for. It's middle game and how to improve people in the middle game. That is going to be, I think, I'm going to say tougher, but the more challenging, or the challenge that requires more thinking, I would say. But that's the big plan for students. Like, and it all ties up. Like, openings are good. Now it's all about, all right, let's actually get better at chess. Let's learn how to make some good moves, or make some good reads, or be able to close winning positions, to avoid making mistakes. Honestly, that's going to be a really big one for what I've seen with myself and what I've seen with Life and other chess players. Like, a big part of getting to 2000 is like not making mistakes. Of course, you have to know what you're trying to do, but find what you normally struggle with, and take that away. If you can take that away, that's going to open a lot of doors for you. So yeah, I'll let you guys know how this goes. Probably by the end of the summer, it should be a really well-oiled machine. In the next month or 2 months, like, that's when I think a big push for how do we improve the how do I improve the middle game is going to be. All right, so just to close, let me take a time check. Probably about 30 minutes. That's what it felt like. Okay, one thing that is very random, but I do think I have a slight superpower on knowing how much time has elapsed. Maybe it's from playing chess for so long, and just like having to sit there forever for a long time. But I kind of know, I have a good feeling of when it's been 20 minutes, when it's been 30 minutes. I don't know. It could be a bunch of things, but I have a decent grip on how much time has passed in the last couple activities. All right, anyway, so last thing I want to talk about is just some random stuff. So first one, chess boxing. I do think I have my first fight or exhibition. It's going to be May 11th. So with that in mind, I am 100% training hard. Yeah, chess is going to be really interesting because honestly, by May 11th, my openings are good, and my middle game and end game should be at least some level or figure of improved with 3 weeks of actual training under my belt. So really curious to see how this is going to go. But one thing that I find it like a little annoying, but also interesting, but also confusing, is if you work out every day and you do what you're supposed to do, it can take a really long time. And I'm not even talking about lifting weights. Like, there are a lot of people who like, well, I'll be at the gym and they'll be lifting weights for a good hour and a half. Now, I'll go to the gym for maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, closer to an hour and a half. But 40 of those minutes, I'm just in the sauna. Like, that's a big part of my quote unquote workout. It's like, I go to the sauna. I enjoy going to the sauna. Now think about that. So 40 minutes in the sauna, let's say about 30 minutes of lifting weights, which I guess if you do 4 to 6 exercises, 30 minutes I think you can do. And then I like to run, because I mean, if you're gonna box, if you're gonna fight, you need good cardio. So that's another 30 minutes there, 35 minutes there. And then what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to do an ab workout every day. I mean, I just think boxers, you need a good abs. It's good to, a lot of your power comes from your core. So that's another 10-minute workout. And then I can't eat out anywhere. I can't, for the most part, I shouldn't be eating fast food. So I'm cooking every day too. So if you put together cooking, working out, running, going to the sauna, and doing an ab workout, I mean, that's like 3 to 4 hours. And that's not even including like driving back and forth between either groceries or the sauna or the gym, or like if I'm going to go sparring or I'm going to the gym downstairs. Like, Working out is a very big time commitment. Like, kudos to people who are in really good shape, because those people are putting in time. Like, that's not happening in 30 minutes. Like, you're sitting there, or you're picking things up and putting them down, and it's like a real lifestyle. And that's, I think, something that I'm learning as I'm getting older, is you're at some point you gotta choose between which lifestyle that you want. Do you want to party and not be in shape and pretty much like spend a lot of money, or do you want to live right? Do you want to eat right? Do you want to spend your time right? Because, like, okay, if I'm spending all this time working out and staying in good physical condition, I also have to make sure my chest is in good condition. And that's not even like going through the other obligations that I have, which include like running this business, making sure that emails are good. Um, and like I said, even then, like, that's only the tip of the iceberg. There's still a lot more iceberg that I have to go through. I will say, once April is over, I should have a lot more free time. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, like I said, I mean, there ain't enough hours in the day. Like, I actually have like a bit, like, if if I could improve two things in the world, it would be to make days longer, and I forgot what the other one was. But yeah, longer days for sure is a necessity. Because I just don't have enough time to do everything. It gets people nicer, but I don't think that's what I was gonna say. So yeah, which life do you want? And that's another thing. Like, you can have good openings, but if the middle game, like, okay, this is literally kind of what happens to me on weekends. So basically, weekdays, I'm locked in. I work out. I cook. I do what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I miss a day here. I'll make up for it. But then I do the weekend, and I basically lose like 50% at least of the progress I made. And sometimes the weekend spills over into the weekdays, and now I'm actually like a step and a half behind where I was 4 days before. So you just kind of get tired of it, and you basically have to choose, like, do I want to do this, or am I always just going to be in the middle? And that's kind of how I feel with chess, and I guess middle game and end game. Like, you kind of have to commit to a life. Like, do I want to do this, or, like I said, am I just going to be in the middle? And sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. Sometimes I'm okay, sometimes I'm not. So just some food for thought. Basketball has been a lot of fun. Just watching basketball. I even started playing some basketball. Yeah, that's a whole another thing. Like, if I want to add like basketball to my workout, that's another 30 minutes. And that's not even like high intense cardio unless I'm playing 5-on-5. Then you're playing a 5-on-5, you gotta wait, you gotta find a team, you gotta do all this. So once again, it becomes a question: how many hours, and what do you want to spend those hours on? Because you only got so much bandwidth to give yourself and to give others. But I do enjoy watching basketball. Playoffs are coming soon, which I'm definitely excited for. I think these playoffs are going to be really, really fun. The West is going to be just tough. Every matchup, play-in tournament to the Western Conference Finals, is going to be very tight. Like, anyone could win, anyone could lose. Betting on it is going to be definitely interesting. I will say, as far as basketball goes, 5-team parlays and 8-team parlays are pretty much what works the best, at least for me, at least success rate wise. Anything more, and it's just not gonna hit, and anything less, and I mean, you're just not gonna get much value for it. Like, let's say I do a 4-team parlay and I put in $20 and I win 30. It's like, was it worth the risk? But if you put $20 in and you make 100, 200, that's the sweet spot. So basically $10 to try to win 100 or 200. That's what I've been really on recently. With, I would say, some good results, or some very close results sometimes too. Okay, last couple of things. These are super random. If y'all made it this far, kudos to you. You're seeing where the train turns around. But I'm definitely gonna be putting out some funny videos, just some funny content. Open mics right now, schedule is tough. I think summer I'll actually probably do more, unless I'm like 110% all in on chess, which 100% I think that's possible. I just say everything else take a back seat. Like, it's just chess. Like, I gotta try to get some titles this summer. But here and there I have some just like random ideas. It's just some funny videos that I will probably be putting out in the next. I will try to do once a week. If I can do once a week on Friday, that would be perfect. And then last thing, two TV shows that I'm really all about right now, and they're actually both like ranked or at least rated like the greatest TV shows on television. So Invincible and Shogun are the two shows I'm watching right now. Basically, Shogun is Japanese Game of Thrones, and Invincible is Superman, but life's tough. Like, it's not Superman is just invincible. Superman gets beat up. He almost dies. People be dying. Like, these are like adult comics is the best way to put it. Like, it's like comics, but they don't treat you like a kid. Like, they understand you can handle pain, you can handle loss, and that's kind of what real life is. It's like always why I was a pretty big fan of Batman. It felt pretty, at least real in the sense where like bad things happen to good people. Whereas when you watch like Disney and Marvel, you kind of feel like the good guys are just always blessed. Like, they're always going to be okay. Don't ever worry. Nothing bad happens to them. So these two shows I like a lot because it shows you both sides of life, and it also shows you some like strategic just thinking. Just like, how do you maneuver? How do you do politics? How do you stand up for yourself? Like, just like interesting things like that. And I think I'm just going to end it there. The last thing I wanted to say, and I'll definitely make a video about this, but like, if I could be one NBA player, it'd be Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen is basically the fourth player on the Phoenix Suns. So essentially the Suns have Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. And basically all those guys have to get double teamed. So Grayson Allen is the best three-point shooter in the league right now because all he does is get open threes and he just hits them. Like, that's the dream. If I could be one basketball player right now, it would be Grayson Allen. That is how I'm going to close this podcast. So, big theme was openings are good. Now it's time to get into the details. Now it's time to just show up to work every day, and hopefully one day you get a raise. That's kind of how it is. But the biggest thing is first show up, then figure out how to improve, and then now we're cooking. So, hope you all enjoyed episode 48 of the Master One podcast. Probably next one will be in 2 weeks after the tournament to recap the tournament. Then we got state championship. Then we got this, we got that. And then we got the summer. So everyone stay warm, stay safe, enjoy life, and I will see you guys later.